Israel very much in the news. FISM News has been covering it extensively. They've stayed on top of it and been on target with so much of the news coming out of there. But let me just say that here's the thing with Israel from an investment perspective. So Israel's economy, one of the strongest economies in the world, it's been consistently strong for so many years, more years than I can remember. They've had a little bit of issue over the last, I'm going to say 7, 8 years. I'm trying to remember some 7, 8 years ago. They had some issues with the shekel, devaluation of the shekel. And that created some issues and problems with the Israel Fund, the mutual fund, and other investments in Israel that are denominated, transition back into U.S. dollars. And so that's a problem. I think that they could still have issues with the shekel as far as their currency goes from a valuation standpoint. I don't think anything major, but I think there could still be some issues. One of Israel's biggest problems in their economy is they've had zero unemployment for all practical purposes. And they have been highly dependent upon foreigners, refugees, coming there to do a lot of work that needs to get done. So they've got a similar problem to what we have right now at this moment. They've got more work than they've got people working or willing to work. And it's a huge problem. If you've been to Israel, been there many, many times, and I'm always amazed at the Hasidics. And, they go there from New York. The government pays them money to be there. They give them basically welfare. They live in the slums of Israel. I mean, they don't live in good conditions. Maybe slums is an overstatement, but nonetheless, not very great conditions. They have a lot of kids, and they get paid to be there. And the worst part about it is they don't have to go in the service. So they're the only Israelis that don't have to go in the military. And there's a lot of problem with that and issues. But they're paying out a lot of money. And these aren't people that are contributing to the economy that desperately needs workers. So that's a problem. That problem's not going away anytime soon. So I say all that to say that their economy can slip a lot, and they can still have strong employment. A horrible thing to say, but it is what it is. The bombing sometimes can generate economic activity because there's rebuilding, there's construction, and other things that's going on. Not that they need more work. They don't. You've got an incredible tech sector in Israel. Their Silicon Valley is like none other, and every major tech firm is there doing their R&D. And so their economy stays strong. Israel, in my opinion, is in a different position than a lot of countries. I'll just use America as an example. We can have some harsh economic times and go through a recession that could last as long as 2 years. Could last a long time and be devastating to our portfolios, only to have it recover. I don't think Israel has that option. I think Israel's options are to continue to, I don't want to say thrive, but continue to have a good, strong economy or cease to exist as a nation. Obviously, that's a hard thing to think about and a hard thing to say. But I'm trying not to put my desire for people to invest and to help and to contribute through their investments into their economy. And I want to set that aside. I'm just looking at the facts. So I own those two things that David mentioned, IT-72. I've had it since I put it on the buy list many, many years ago, and it is up significantly. I wouldn't sell it because of all the various bottoms that it's put in. It would be very hard for it not to be a fundamental position, foundational position in my portfolio at this point, and I don't think I would want to sell it. As far as the Israel Fund, the Timothy Israel Fund, pretty similar in the sense that I think it's going to hold its own and continue to recover and get stronger. It suffers a little bit from companies. In other words, it's anything but diluted. It could use a few more companies, but it's very hard screening companies out in Israel. It's a very liberal nation. And so you're going to have abortion and those things in there that we would screen out. So it's hard to find those companies that aren't doing that. But having said all that, I don't think I would sell. I mean, I would just leave. Would I add more? Would I dollar cost out? No, I would not do that. I don't think that would be prudent. But because you've had these things for so long, I think it's wise to keep it. And I think that, we just pray for the right political circumstances. I can't imagine them having a government away from Benjamin Netanyahu. But one's got to believe that whoever they have would take the good from a national defense standpoint of Benjamin Netanyahu. He was an unwavering person when it came to the protection of the Israeli citizens in the nation of Israel. He was totally unwavering. He would walk away from the United States if he had to, or anybody else. He's not somebody that is going to ever compromise the security of Israel. During the Arafat reign, Arafat there was a list given to Arafat and Israel on several issues that had to get resolved, 10 to be exact. And Israel, they were looking for compromise. And the goal was they were hoping that Arafat, who assured the council that they would compromise, they wanted to see Israel compromise. Israel didn't compromise. They gave Arafat 9 of the 10 things that he wanted. 9 of the 10. He was only required to compromise on 1, and he wouldn't do it. That's just one example of the way it's always going to be there. And the one that he wouldn't compromise on was a non-negotiable issue for Israel. And I've been saying for years, they don't have a political problem, they have a theological problem. And it's going to be difficult to have peace. But I would want to own some Israel, and I would keep it. Hey, remember to click the subscribe button right here on the screen. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when new content is added. And more importantly than anything, you don't want to miss all 3 live hours of Financial Issues every day from 9 to noon. And you can watch it on FISM.tv. That's FISM.tv.